All right, so just moving along in the top of the edit window here. This is just our counter. We can choose to be viewing it in minutes, seconds, bars and beats, time code, feet and frames, samples. You can have a sub counter, so you can have two views. You can have one, your main in minutes and seconds, and your sub counter in bars and beats. Now, none of this was recorded to a click track. There's no tempo, so it doesn't make sense to view bars and beats. But if you had recorded this to a click track, bars and beats would make the most sense. So since we didn't, minutes and seconds is the most useful thing to see. Time code and feet and frames, these are mostly used if you're doing something to video and you have actual time code that you need to spot certain things to. If you're working on a commercial or a scene in a TV show or a movie kind of thing, which we won't be doing in this class. So for our purposes, we'll either be using minutes, seconds, or bars and beats. You can set a start and end or a length to a certain region. If I knew that I wanted to cut from right here and I wanted to cut, say a minute 30, I could go 1:30. It'll highlight a minute 30, and I could, you could just cut it, right? Just hit delete, cut it. You could hit B, and that'll actually make a breakpoint. It's going to break this selection into a separate audio region now. So I've got this bit, and that bit, right? Now here you could undo if I messed that up or anything, I could undo that, or you can highlight all of this, and Apple H will heal it, and just revert it back to just a single audio file or audio region. Or if you knew, like, okay, I need to start from 2 minutes, and I'm going to end at 2:45. So same thing. What else? These are just some indicators that'll tell you where your cursor's at as you're, wherever your cursor's hovering. It'll tell you that's the minutes, seconds. That's the sample. None of this is really important to us. The grid, if you can see when I toggle that, it makes actual grid lines. And you can adjust the size of the grid, so I could put them at 1 second. So each one of these lines from one line to the next represents a second. I personally don't like to see that, but it's there if you want it. And again, you can set your grid. Looks like it just maxes out at 1 second. So you can go from 1 millisecond up to 1 second. Oops, it wasn't even on. The nudge. This is useful sometimes if you want to incrementally move your cursor by a set amount. So say we go to 1 second, and I go here. If I just hit the plus or minus, it's going to move me ahead or backwards 1 second in the timeline. So that can be useful sometimes. And then over here we've got pre and post roll, fade in. For instance, if you're doing, like say we're doing some guitar overdubs, right? All you're working on is guitar. Turn that grid off. And you just want to record this section until you get it right. Well, it's really convenient for the guitar player or whoever the musician is to start playback from the same point in the song every time you're recording a new take, right? It just kind of helps train your brain to know, okay, here's where we're starting, and we're starting playback from the same time every time. Makes it a lot easier to kind of get in the groove of things. So you might want to set a pre-roll for, 4 seconds. So we put a 4-second pre-roll, and now say I want to record on this track. Now when I hit record, it's going to start playback from 4 seconds behind and punch into record right here where my cursor is. So you can either highlight a selection like this and it'll record everything in that section, or we could put our cursor right there, which I just did by tabbing to it, right? Instead of trying to land my cursor right on it, you can just click a little behind it, tab, you're right there. And if we hit record, so you can see it started recording where my cursor was, but it started playback 4 seconds behind. So it gives the guitar player a few seconds to catch up to what part of the song he's about to start playing. Post roll will do the same thing. It'll just, wherever you punch out of, let's give it a 2-second post roll. So say we just want to record that section right here. It's going to play for 4 seconds coming in, and it's going to play for 2 seconds on the back end. So, I mean, that doesn't necessarily make punching in or make, doing multiple takes any easier, but sometimes it can be jarring if you're the musician and you're punching in a certain part to just all of a sudden stop. Maybe you're done playing. Actually, no, I can't redo that, can I? Nope. Here we go. So, what was I saying? Shoot, I just lost my train of thought. Sometimes it can just be jarring, like, okay, we want to record this snippet right here, but, we can always peel it back if we want, right? If we punched in or punched out too late, we can always just drag it back. So nothing's lost. Very rarely are things really lost in Pro Tools. You've got many levels of undo, and again, I think I mentioned in another video, Pro Tools, it's a setting that, where are settings? Preferences, there we go. In our preferences, operation probably, yeah. Enable session file auto backup. Keep the 10 most recent session backups backup every 2 minutes. Now you can change this to a minute. You can change it to 20 minutes. You can keep the most recent 5. You can keep the most recent 50 if you want. And so again, it's pretty hard to really lose something in Pro Tools unless you're moving files, and usually that's where you run into trouble. But in the confines of a session where all your files are in one place, you shouldn't worry about losing stuff. I mean, definitely get in the habit of saving, but other than that, don't panic if you feel like you screwed something up. You can probably retrieve it.